歡迎大家嚟到。Welcome to today's press briefing. We have with us from the Center for Health Protection, Dr. Albert Au, and from the Hospital Authority, Dr. Larry Lee. We'll first hear from Dr. Au. Good afternoon, everyone. I will now give you a report about cases that were given to us yesterday. Yesterday, we have PCR positive cases, 116 cases, including 15 confirmed by the Hospital Authority, 24 confirmed by Public Health Laboratory Service, and the remaining 77 cases were confirmed by private laboratories. Yesterday, we have 154 RAT positive cases. In relation to the overall number of cases, we have 270 cases reported yesterday. So far, in the fifth wave, we have 1,192,227 positive cases, including 749,210 PCR positive cases, as well as 450,017 RAT cases. Of the cases yesterday, there are 31 imported cases, including 16 picked up at the temporary sample collection center at the airport. There are 12 cases that were picked up during the quarantine period at hotels. There are 2 fourth-day cases, 9 fifth-day, and 1 case 6th-day. And there is 1 case on the 15th day picked up at the community testing center. This case is a suspected repositive case involving a 30-year-old male with 3 doses administered. He's asymptomatic. In April, he was infected overseas. On the 12th day, he came back from the Philippines and stayed at the hotel till the 18th. And on the 26th day, the sample was positive with as high CT values, that is 35. And there are also cases that is on the 7th and the 8th day, actually 2 cases that they were about to enter the mainland. And at the border, when they were tested, the samples were positive. For both cases, CT value is 39 to 41. The other one is 42. They're both high. They're both asymptomatic. For one of them, a sample taken on the same day is negative. We believe that is a repositive case. Of the imported cases, there are 9 from the U.S., 3 from Singapore, 3 from the Netherlands, 2 from Germany, 2 from the UK, 2 from Australia, 2 from Thailand. And the remaining countries are Vietnam, France, Indonesia, Taiwan, the Philippines, Pakistan, Italy, and India. They all have 1 case each. Yesterday, we have additional 1 death case. So far, in the fifth wave, we have 9,163 death cases. Death rate is still 0.764%. In relation to care homes, yesterday there was 1 care home for people with disability that reported to us that there is 1 case involving a staff member. The last working day was the 25th of May, and the 26th, the staff members show symptoms. We conducted investigation. There are 24 residents in this home that are classified as close contacts. Arrangements have been made to send them to quarantine center. Yesterday, there was 1 new outbreak. The location is a bar in Central Douglas Street, number 32, California Tower, a place called Central. Is ZENTRAL. There are 11 cases between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. on the 20th, between the 11th and the 20th. And there are 2 cases with 2 doses administered and 2 cases with 3 jabs, 6 males and 5 females aged between 17 and 29. They all show mild symptoms. The date of symptom onset is the 20th to the 26th of May. There's 1 case on the 20th, 23rd, 1 case, 6 on the 24th, and 2 cases on the 25th and 1 on the 26th. At this location at that time, they were just drinking and chatting. Masks were off. Since there is a cluster, we will classify this place as a location under CET, and we will obtain information from vaccine passes. Together with the FEHD as well as the MSD, we will conduct site visits. Of the 11 cases, there is one case involving a 23-year-old male. This person is a part-time basketball coach with 2 doses administered, teaching at Tang Pui King Secondary School, Port Oi Hospital. On the 24th of May, in the evening, he showed symptoms. On the same day, in the afternoon, he went to the school and taught a basketball class. There were about 30 students at the training, involving 4 classes altogether. There are 14 different classrooms. Of these 30 students, 6 of them turned positive, including 2 students that turned positive yesterday, and another 4 that were tested positive today, this morning. Symptom onset was between the 25th and the 27th of May. Last school day for 2 is last Tuesday. For the remaining 4, yesterday was the last school day. We suggest to the school that there should be disinfection. And those who have been in training with a coach as well as the students, that is 24 other people, will be classified as close contacts and will stay in home quarantine. In relation to Court Yap by Marriott Hong Kong Sha Tin, there was a suspected case of transmission. We've conducted investigation. Yesterday, together with EMSD, we went to the hotel for a site visit. We found that for patient 0, room 2835, there is a positive pressure. As a result, the air inside the room would leave the room into the corridor when the doors open. However, the extraction fan as well as ventilation system of this room, as well in addition to other parameters, they were all functioning properly. It's just that the air will flow from the room to the corridor, and the air will flow from 2835 to 2833. The other thing we found was that the location where the purifier was placed has been different. We suggest that the purifier should be placed close to the door. For these 2 rooms, we found that the purifiers were put away from the door. We checked the surveillance, the CCTV, and found that when the doors were open to take out rubbish or to get their meals, the occupants did not wear their masks. That may be the reason why the virus went from 2835 into the corridor to a different room and infected the occupant inside. We've directed the hotel to make adjustments of the air system to change the air pressure back to normal. We also asked them to post notices to require occupants to keep their masks on when the doors are open and to keep the purifier near the door. In relation to the cluster in Hong Kong CEC, Sir Fong, that is together, we have conducted investigation together with FEHD as well as EMSD. We have conducted a site visit and obtained 158 environmental samples at the LG female and male changing room as well as the canteen on top of the whole. In addition to the toilets, these samples were all negative. The EMSD measured air flow pressure and found that the airflow per hour is more than 6, which is sufficient. In relation to one case, that is in relation to DSE, it's a Canadian International School. There is another case in the same class. In the RAT test this morning, it was positive. We think that there is one teacher and 4 students. Our investigation also showed that for the earliest case, the student lives in Samyanggok in Taikoo Shing. Symptom onset was the 24th and the last school day was the 23rd. At this building, there was another case, 67-year-old male, and on the 13th of May, he went to McDonald's. Genome sequencing analysis is BA.2.12.1. He's asymptomatic, and on the 22nd of May, during the CTN, he found to be positive. We asked the students of this cluster to stay in a community isolation center. In this school, a different classroom and a place where people eat, we've obtained environmental sample, all turn out to be negative. In relation to Lang Kwai Fong Hotel at Khao Yu Fong, that is the 2 cases of the 12th day positive sample, there are altogether 25 cases. 4 residents of the hotel, 8 who have been to McDonald's, and 4 of their home contacts or close contacts. And in relation to Hong Kong CEC Wan Chai, there are 2 cases. They were staff members. There's one who worked at the immigration tower and 2 other people as well as 1 home contact. So altogether 25 cases. For the latest genome sequencing analysis, yesterday the Public Health Laboratory Service has made some new announcements in relation to 1 cargo flight crew member, 36-year-old male living in Tai Po. On the 21st of May, he arrived from India. The result shows that the strain is the local prevalent B8.2.2. We believe that this case is a local infection case. So this case is classified as a local infection case. Yesterday, we found another case. It's L452R positive case. In relation to local prevalent strain, that is BA.2.2 Omicron, the test against L452R are all negative. For this case, is positive to L452R is a local case. Preliminary analysis shows that this may be BA.4 or BA.5 case. We do need to wait till a full genome sequencing analysis to see which strain it is. This is a 44-year-old male, asymptomatic, with 3 doses administered. He works in an office in the apron of the Hong Kong airport, who lives in Block F, Ma On Shan, Sun Gong Sing. On the 18th of May, for the first time, he was tested positive. Since he works at the airport, he's subject to regular testing. He's been put under home isolation till the 25th. Afterwards, he went to the community testing center. Is positive result, and the 26th is also positive, but the CT value is over 37. The family members are all negative, and they are asymptomatic. In relation to BA.4 cases, there were 2 new cases yesterday. They were both picked up at the airport, one from the UK and one from Thailand. Both cases, they arrived on the 22nd. So far, we have 14 cases of BA.4 cases. They're all imported cases. In relation to BA.5, there was 8 new cases, 3 picked up by the airport and 2 second-day sample, 2 fifth-day sample, 1 ninth-day sample picked up at the quarantine hotel or isolation facilities. There are 3 from US, 3 from UAE, 1 from Singapore, 1 from Spain. So far, we have altogether in Hong Kong 11 BA.5 cases. They are all imported cases. In relation to BA.2.12.1 strain, we have 9 new imported cases. 5 picked up at the airport. 5 is third day and 1 at the 9th day in the quarantine facility. 6 from the US, 1 from Bahamas, 1 from Canada, 1 from Singapore. So for BA.2.12.1, there are 72 imported cases and 8 local infection cases. They are linked to imported cases. Yesterday, there were 2 new BA.2.12. They are of second-day cases. They are from France.
Now, we would like to ask Dr. Lee to report on the case of TMHK. We have altogether 432 patients. 44 of them are new cases that are confirmed cases. For those admitted to isolation facilities, 79 are in isolation wards, 12 in second-tier isolation wards, 38 at the North Nantou Hospital, Hong Kong Infection Control Center. 16 are new cases who have just been confirmed. Yesterday, we got reports that 2 patients were in critical conditions, 1 without any vaccination record, 1 with 2 jabs. For those who are inpatients and confirmed cases, 14 are in critical conditions and 8 are serious. 5 critical cases are now in the ICU for their treatment. In addition, 1 patient passed away yesterday, a male aged 77, not from any RCHEs, with 2 jabs of BioNTech, and he had a background of respiratory disease with a history of stroke as well as brain problems. On the 25th of May in the afternoon, he was admitted to the A&E department of the Eastern Hospital, shortness of breath and falling level of oxygen in blood. We expanded his arteries and we gave him antibiotics. The x-rays showed that he had pneumonia. Upon screening, it was found that his PCR result was uncertain in relation to COVID-19. In terms of our treatment, we gave him a lot of medicine. We also gave him positive pressure respirators. His conditions worsened on the 27th of May at 5:22. He passed away. We believe that his passing away did not have much to do with COVID-19. In the past 24 hours, 61 patients recovered, 42 discharged. So far, 50,116 patients recovered, 49,783 were discharged. Since early 2020, 62,496 patients have recovered, out of which our home 62,163 have been discharged. 2 patients were found to have a positive result upon admission screening, and some other patients were regarded as close contact. For our staff members, 23,219 have been confirmed as positive. 23,183 have returned to resume their duty. In relation to the kitchen of Haven of Hope Hospital, a staff member returned a positive test on the 22nd of May. He had a test and the result was found to be positive. We carried out a contact tracing exercise. 4 more staff members have been found to be confirmed cases in the catering section. 4 of them, in fact, shared the same room with this first case, or they had meal together. 7 other staff members are also close contacts, and they have been isolated. All of them have followed our infection control measures, and they have put on their protective gear. But then, to play safe, the catering section of Haven of Hope Hospital will be suspended, and then we'll carry out a thorough disinfection, and we are taking environmental samples. Before I came here, 25 such samples have returned a negative result. That's all from me. Now the floor is open to your questions. Please identify yourself and your media organization. Good afternoon, I'm TVB. For the bar in the central with a outbreak, how many customers were having drinks during the same period of time? How many of them have been contacted? I think it was 5 a.m., right, that you said. Was it a breach of the rules for the 6 males and 1 female? Were they known to each other? And then for the basketball coach, I want to know at the time of training, did the coach and the students put on their facial mask? Was it because of a transmission in the changing room or what? And then there was a case that was positive to L452R. Now for BA.4, BA.5, all such cases are imported cases. Now that you have got L452R positive in the community, does it mean that we have a new transmission link in relation to BA.4 or BA.5? Thank you for your questions. For the bar in the Gula Street, there is an outbreak. We are still carrying out the investigation. Our colleagues and the FHD are carrying out the investigation on the scene. We don't know yet how many people were involved. They do have the Leave Home Safe application, and they've also got information from the vaccine passes. So we will make use of the application to get hold of the customers who visited the bar that night. We will ask for a compulsory testing to see if there are other cases. Our initial understanding is that for the 11 cases, on the 21st of May, they went there after 11 p.m. As to the time of departure, according to Leave Home Safe application, the latest would be the 22nd of May, around about 5 a.m. As to whether there has been a breach of the law, we have to carry out further investigation. I understand that the bar has just resumed business a short while ago. In the case of the second-degree school, 30 students took part in the basketball training. All of them have received their vaccination. During the basketball training session, according to information from the school, they removed their masks. But then for the coach, according to him, at the time that he was coaching the students, that is on the 24th of May, he did put on his mask. As to your last question, L452R, well, currently in Hong Kong, as far as the public health laboratory service is concerned, whenever we have a positive result, we'll carry out some initial genomic analysis, and we'll try to find out whether we have L452R or R or Q. And then, well, usually if it is a case of R, then it is Delta. But then Delta has almost disappeared in Hong Kong. For some Omicron variants or subvariants that are new, they may emerge in the position of R, covering BA.4 or BA.5. So in this specific case, is it a case of BA.4 or what? It depends on the final results from the whole genome sequencing. It could be the case that it is not a case having a locally prevalent subvariant in the fifth wave, that is BA.2.1. So, sorry, it's not the BA.2.2. We may have such a case in community, but then for this particular case, there's an epidemiological link, because after all, he works in the office of the airport apron. It's a high-risk area. So we want to find out whether during the course of work, he would have come into contact with the air crew, so that he would come into contact with imported cases at the airport. The next question, please.
I'm from Mingpao. First of all, I'd like to ask about the bar cluster. Have you done any testing to find out whether it's L452R or L452Q? Do these cases sit together? Do they move about? Do they know one another? What do you think is the transmission route? For the one with the symptom onset on the 20th of May, do you think that is the earliest case, whether it's a patient 0 of this case, the first patient? In relation to the school, is it a third generation infection? Because it's within just 1 week. What do you think the risk is in relation to this cluster? I'd like to also ask about the international school. There is someone who lives in Tai Kwu Shing. Which floor? Where does that flat face? What's the transmission route? In relation to the international school, have you done the genome sequencing analysis? Would you classify it as related to the Lang Kwai Fong cluster? For the person who works at the apron of the airport, has that case been to any places, say for example eateries or high-risk places? Lastly, this morning's Dr. Sophia Chan, the secretary, said that between the 7th day and the 12th day, for those who arrive in Hong Kong, there should be another PCR test. Which day should it be? So far, how many cases do you have that's beyond the 7th day? How many of them are positive cases? How many of them are new? How many of them are local infection cases? Thank you for the question. In relation to the bar cluster, it was only in the evening yesterday that we identified this cluster. We need to carry out investigation based on the information supplied to us by the patients. We also obtain information from the Leave Home Safe app. That's why we identify this cluster. For some of the cases, it was an RAT positive test, positive result. We will make arrangements for them to do nasal swab PCR tests so that we can conduct a full genome sequencing analysis. So far, we don't know whether which subtype it is from Omicron. We need to obtain the sample first. In relation to the tables they sat at, most of them told us that they went there by themselves or with a friend or two. In the bar, they would move about or talk to other people, drink with them, and took their masks off. For some cases, they said they sat by the bar. It is just normal bar benches. But don't think that we think that these cases are actually scattered over the premises. We'll see how many people there are at this bar that evening, and there will be new cases. Of these 11 cases, they don't know one another. Your other question is in relation to the international school cluster. We have evidence to believe that this may be 8.2.12.1. For the first case of this class, the last day of school was the 23rd, but the symptom onset was 24th. Perhaps the last day of school, 23rd, the RAT was negative. We don't rule out the possibility of the case being infectious. For the other cases, some of them were with symptom onset on the 27th of May. For one of the case, that person lives above the McDonald's cluster 67-year-old male case, but they are of different unit numbers. But they were neighboring units and share the same light well. We don't rule out the possibility that the transmission took place in the light well from a lower floor to an upper floor. We can't rule out the possibility that the student who lives in Poyang mentioned is a BA.12.1 case. We will need to compare the genome sequencing with other cases. We don't have any accurate information. About the case that worked at the airport apron, it was a previous case. What we know at the moment is that we received the report on the 18th of May. We conducted some investigation and tracing, and we issued home quarantine order on the family members. They were all negative. On the 18th day, the patient turned positive. He's asymptomatic. He went to Yun Chao Street, Kam Gai, Mai Sin. We found the Leave Home Safe record and did not identify any new cases in relation to this eatery. Your question about additional PCR test after visitors have left the quarantine hotel. The current measure in relation to arrivals is that it covers a 7-day hotel quarantine period. From the 1st of April to the 22nd of May, we have recorded 1,020 imported cases. In these cases, 57% of them are already positive when they arrived at the airport. For the other cases, nearly all of them were confirmed within the 7-day period at the hotel. There are some that are picked up on the 5th, 6th, or 7th day. Actually, the 7-day hotel quarantine is necessary. There are about 40 cases that were discovered after the quarantine period. Most of them were confirmed on the 12th day under the compulsory testing. Many of these cases have had infection records overseas. So in relation to these cases, the cases that are positive after they've left the quarantine hotel, there are only 2 recent cases. They are the 2 from Lan Kwai Fong Hotel. It's possible that they were infected when they were staying at the hotel. Well, they've left the hotel for 5 days and is positive on the 12th day. And if we add PCR tests, it is to target cases that have already left the quarantine hotel and suffer from symptom onset afterwards. We will look at the data to find a suitable day to add that PCR test. Next. From cable TV, I'd like to ask about that bar cluster. The customers, is it the case that they forgot to leave the venue on the app? How many tables are involved? What about the distance among those tables? About the secondary school, there are quite a number of students. Will there be any class suspension in general or in relation to particular classes? In relation to the additional PCR test for arrivals, how many PCR tests will there be? Will there be just PCR or will there be RAT on top of that as well? We're still carrying out investigation in relation to the bar cluster. According to the Li Fum Safe app, they arrive at about 11 p.m. or afterwards on the 21st of May. The time is quite accurate because they have to record their entry on the app. When it comes to the time when they left, perhaps it might be a case that they've forgotten to leave the premises on the app. So the exit time may not be the actual time when they left. The distance among different tables, we don't have the information yet because we have to ask further questions from the patrons. For some, they may not stay at the same table the whole time. They might talk to others and they might move about. So we need to ask further questions. About the international school, so far, there is no need to have a whole school suspension. For the 5 students, they came from the same class. We believe that there is a transmission in the same class. The teacher taught this class on Monday and Thursday music. The classmates, they have to do an RAT test on Monday. So far, we have not seen any evidence that there are other cases in other classes. We'll need to see what the situation is like on Monday. If there are other cases in different classes, we'll have to conduct a risk assessment. For the class with confirmed cases, they need to they need to suspend their classes. And this morning, there is one case reported to us this morning. Any other questions? If not, that's the end of the press briefing. Thank you.